Welcome everyone to this live webinar. I'm just delighted to have my friend Eva Müller back for a second interview. You can check out her first interview. We'll put the link in the description below. Eva is a very talented, amazing, beautiful hearted energy healer. And she's been helping people all over the world for quite a while. She has a lot of great offerings that we're going to get into in today's session. But we thought that it would be really nice for all of you before we start the interview to just get to enjoy Eva's work directly. So she's going to do healing transmission for all of us. And I invite everyone to sit back and relax and enjoy this time. And then afterwards, we'll get into the interview. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for this beautiful introduction, Dorothy, and thank you so much for having me on your channel. I'm delighted to be back, and yeah, I'm excited to start with a guided meditation. So I do an energy transmission and I guide through that. And what you can do is just sit back, relax, and meditate along. You don't need to do anything else and just receive. Be in an open, receptive state. Okay, and in the beginning, I need like a half a minute to tune in, and then I start sharing. All right. Enjoy. I start with opening up the energy field. And bring in light. Then I expand the energy field. Expanding the energy field helps to hold more light in the system, and also more awareness comes with that as well. So I'm expanding. And the energy field can always be more expanded. So this is basically a never-ending process, and we can always hold more light. And the light is working on a cellular level and transforming our system on that level towards our personal highest truth. So I'm still expanding. And then I fill up the expanded space with light. And then I clear surface energies. So surface energies are all sorts of energies you've been exposed to over the past 1 or 2 days, and also emotions that are currently on the top of your system, so that have been triggered up or that are currently in your experience. So I'm clearing those energies because they're just in the way. They're basically creating the noise, and behind those energies is the silence, the emptiness, the clarity. So I'm clearing those energies. And the more I clear those energies, the more light can enter the system. So the system is the body and all the energy fields around the body. This is what I'm referring to. And in general, the system can relax more. And when the system is more relaxed, also more light can enter. And then I also clear thoughts out of the mind. Thoughts is also just energy, just on the mind level. Because we also don't need thoughts at the moment. So the personal thoughts are always there, so you can always think, but I'm just clearing the random thoughts. And random thoughts is just energy stored on the mind level, so that the mind chatter, basically, the thoughts we don't need that are just in the way. Okay, I clear those as well. And then right away, more light is entering the system. So through the crown chakra, third eye chakra, the light is entering your body, your energy field, and also the area around you. And the light is high vibrational divine light that's coming in. And then I open up the central energy channel. The central energy channel is located in the center of our energy fields. So it goes from the root to the crown chakra. This is where life energy flows through the system. So life energy flows from root to the crown chakra, falls back down left and right in all directions and flows up again and so on. So it's a constant flow, and this is life itself. So when life energy is flowing through our system in the present moment, we have an experience in the present moment with all our thoughts, senses, so with the body. And then it's also manifesting into our own consciousness on the outside. So this is life itself, life manifesting itself on the outside, in our consciousness. In the present moment, there is a mechanism in our system that creates the past and the future, because there is the experience of past and future, but past and future doesn't really exist. Only the present moment exists. And by doing this work and the transmission working on your system, it starts breaking down this mechanism of being possible to experience a past and a future. For example, you had just to share it, you had an experience 2 weeks ago, something you didn't prefer at all. Let's say you were really angry. Then that energy is stuck in your system of the anger. And when you think back of that experience 2 weeks ago in the present moment, also that energy gets triggered up. And in the present moment, you have thoughts about that experience, and also you feel the anger. So you basically bring the past into the present moment, and this is how a past is created, although that energy is stuck in your system right now. So there is no past, just the experience of the past. And the same with the future. You can project this anger into the future, and you say, for example, I will never want to have that experience again because it makes me angry. So you predict the future when you have the same or a similar experience, that you will feel angry. It's just projecting that stuck energy into the future. So this just this mechanism, and by doing this work, like I said, this mechanism starts breaking down, and then eventually there is no past and future. It's not possible to tap into those anymore. So there is only the present moment. You can think with the thoughts about the past and future, but there is no possibility of projecting energies or tapping into those emotional memories anymore, because they're gone. Then I accelerate your life energy. And the more we heal and clear our system, the more life energy can flow. And the more life energy flows, our life is experienced of just the unfolding of experiences in the present moment. One experience after the other. We experience it, like I said, with all thoughts, emotions, senses. And when it's passed through, when the experience is over, it passes through the system, completely leaves the system, and the next experience comes in. So it doesn't leave a trace. And this would be the optimum way of the system working, so that we experience the present moment in a full and rich way, but then everything is gone. Then the next moment comes in until it's gone. Next moment comes in until it's gone. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, for now, I will break down this mechanism completely of you being able to tap into past and future, so that you get right now a full experience of living in the present moment 100% without past and future. So you're basically pulled into the present moment. Your system is pulled into the present moment. The thoughts can go in past and future, that's not a problem, but they don't really count. It's about the emotional memory. Okay, now you're fully pulled into the present moment. And you can check now for yourself, just sense into yesterday, sense into tomorrow. It's not possible. Sense into 2 weeks ago or in a week in advance. It doesn't work anymore because the possibility is gone. You're just here right now. And that's very, very amazing, very beautiful. So let's sit with this for a minute in silence. I hold this in place for you so that your system gets more used to it and also knows in which direction to work or to break down those old mechanisms that are not needed anymore. Okay, we are finished. And so while you are watching this interview, just observe yourself. It's possible that, this pulling into the present moment stays around for a while. And also after we finish this interview, for example, just observe in your day. Are you more in the present moment as usual? It's very possible that it stays, So when the system is ready, that these mechanisms are broken down for good, it will stay. And if the system is not ready yet, just parts of it were able to go, but then more and more over time when you work on that specifically. So yeah, so that was the meditation.
Eva, thank you. Thank you. That was really beautiful. And so I would say universally helpful for people because I think a lot of the stress that people carry comes from feeling bad about things that happened in the past or worrying about the future. And of course, all of that is actually administrated through the present moment. We can decide in the present moment if we're going to let ourselves be dragged down and worry and feel bad on something that happened in the past. It can't be changed anyway, right? So, or if we're just not going to let those impressions dig in and influence, I would say, influence the movements of the nervous system, right? The autonomic nervous system. Some impression from some past experience. Then I come up to something similar in the present. And like, I remember the past one and it's doubly as bad because it was bad then and now it's bad now. And we've got all the bad put together into one big, mess. So it's beautiful to get that washed out. Also, I'm just giving a few, just my reflections.
Yeah, perfect.
I loved the opening sequence as well, where there was the expansion of consciousness and the concentration of light in the being. And it was so sweet, the light, so sweet and so pure. And from my perspective, the light of life, the light of the divine coming in. And that's something that I feel is the birthright of every human being. And I love that you opened with that because at that point, whatever happens after that is going to be good and it's going to be really nice for people. And your point at the end about how for some people, if you're really ready for this, it's going to just set in and you'll just notice from here forward, you're just always in the present moment. And for those who aren't quite ready, you'll just notice it in little bits. I feel is very much a byproduct of the condition of the nervous system. because it's our nervous systems that, especially the autonomic nervous system, which reacts or responds to various experiences. Yeah, the autonomic nervous system needs to be in like a more balanced state so that it is more stable, whatever comes. It's like we're just in that experience that's coming at that moment, and also flexible in order to be able to not resist if the environment or nature is bringing us something and it's outside the paradigm or it's outside what we expected, then being able to move with that in a graceful manner is going to create fewer impressions in the system going forward as well.
Hmm.
So stability, that's what I see as a physiological byproduct of the healing that you were doing the
Yeah.
healing, right? And I was watching what was happening at a physiological level. Right, I was kind of looking at the whole spectrum. um
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically, how I see this is that our true nature has certain aspects, and being in the present moment is one of them. And by in general healing and clearing the human system, it just these aspects are coming through. They're just coming through bits by bits. So it's not that we like have to climb up a ladder and when we're on top, it's going to reveal itself at once. It just comes in. And this is why life experience gets better as well when we do this kind of work, just because these little bits can come in over time and we can see the changes and the betterment of life experience. And also more joy can come in, the joy of existence, and life is experienced more as a flow. And yeah, eventually there is only the present moment and there is no possibility of tapping back into past and future. And I think it's just so incredible that this is a thing, that we can experience that. We can think about the past and future intellectually,
Right.
but there is no possibility in tapping back to in it emotionally, because when the system is cleared, then I just call them the stuck energy. So I just described it a little bit differently. So throughout our lifetime, energies are getting stuck when they're not able to move through fully. And when we're children, it's still possible. So we are in an emotion, we experience the emotion fully, and then it moves through the system and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But then there is a time when these energies start getting stuck. And then we pile up those energies throughout our lifetimes, and they're basically polluting our system. They make it more low vibrational, and those energies are getting triggered up all the time, when we're in a similar experience, like you said before. And when we clear them, we have a neutral space. And the more neutral space we have, first of all, the true nature can start shining through. And also, we have more decision space because before there is not so much decision space because when the anger is there, and everything we look at, we project the anger towards that. So to a person, a situation, it's just we are fully consumed by it. And this is just how it works. Like there is no way out of it. But when we have a more cleared system and eventually clearer and clearer, and the anger is not like consuming us anymore, but we just notice it being there. So that means the true nature is already forward more. That means the anger might, or it's not even anger anymore. Then it's probably like annoyance, or it's like a higher low vibrational emotion because the low vibrational ones are already gone. Then the experience of it is more subtle and it's in us. It's not like consuming us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the identification of it also at the same time, the identification with those emotions is getting
Right.
removed
Right.
because before we take it personal and then
Right.
we just see, okay, there is anger. I mean, it's still possible to get caught in that for a certain amount of time, but in like after a while, it's like, okay, there's just anger. I experience anger, but there's no projection towards anything. And I also don't take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not identified. And this
Mm-hmm.
is basically what the transmission is doing. It's working very holistically from all sides, but this is why it's a process. But after a kind of already a short amount of time working with this transmission, we already feel a better life experience, and then it gets better and over time. So yeah, and being in the present moment is such an important one, and it changes so much. Like back before I started meditating and I read books about being in the present moment and doing practices to be in the present moment, it's really hard to practice that. It's like having it as a practice, but also with this transmission, it's just so easy to be more in the present moment and then to experience it more. It's a helper. It helps us tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying
It's
about your
not an
setup.
effort. Yeah.
The setup, I felt that the setup created a condition that supported the very highest vibration transformation for each person listening, whatever that is, even though, a lot of the focus was on clearing these impressions. I often use the word impressions to describe those types of energies, right, that stick around from the past, impressions, memory patterns, like that. But yeah, to clear those out. But I noticed you were clearing from the physical. I noticed the changes to the physical body of the actual nervous system becoming more adaptable and more stable, but also the mental body, which is more where I think a lot of those impressions tend to actually sit. Like energetically, they tend to sit more at the mental, emotional levels of the physiology. And then at the deep, deep level, that foundational level, you set up the condition that kind of just opened the field and created a space of sort of innocent awareness that allowed for the roots of those impressions to be released from the system.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. So basically, how I describe it is because the high vibrational divine light comes in, it holds the system in a certain space, and whatever is happening in that space, the system allows it right away. Like it's not a problem because it really enjoys this high vibration. It basically feels safe, although there is no
yeah,
safety. So it's
yeah,
just open and you can do whatever you want in that field, in that
right,
system. And it's also so easy to clear low vibrational energies out of it,
right,
and that people don't have to experience it, because usually when you bring
right.
up a low vibrational emotion, people would experience, like the anger, you would have to experience it. But now it's just possible to, let's say, just take it out. And
Yeah.
people are not dropping into that vibration, they stay in that extreme high vibration. Yeah, and yeah, it's fascinating, right, how this works. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fascinating. I sometimes lately I've used the term lap of God to describe that space because it's like it's everyone's birthright to have a level of intimacy and connection to the divine. And it feels to me as if a lot of the work that happens actually is a purification in the heart area. And it's interesting because we also have the autonomic nervous system running through this area of the physiology, right? It's very close. It's very, very close to the surface of the body here in the right in the neck and behind the ears, and then it kind of goes into the chest and it connects in with the heart and the lungs and all that. And there's that feeling of, or like a baby in the lap of mother, being held by mother is so safe that you trust. And the trust does seem to be a fundamental principle for being able to transform, to let go of stuff and to allow the healing to take place. And it seems as if it often comes back to ultimately a healing of that mental and emotional body, because that's where a lot of the stuck energies tend to sit. At the causal level, there's more flow, you know. The deep level of consciousness right next to the absolute. We get the seeds there, but there's also more, there are fewer boundaries at that level of consciousness. And so most people naturally have a little more sort of flexibility in that area. Um, but
Yeah, I
I
think
loved
the
how your work
emotional
went
level
through
is
that
the
whole
hardest.
area.
The emotional level is the hardest one to break through, and also the mental level, as you call
Right,
them.
right, mental,
The
emotional,
emotional
yeah.
one, because we often don't have access to those emotions to clear them. They just
We
come on
think we've been
randomly.
told that they're subconscious and unconscious, which means we've
Mm,
been told that we don't have access to them. We
yeah.
do, but it's like our culture has built around this idea that we don't have access. And so people just,
Yeah, and also like we never taught how to clear them, or how to allow, to let these energies leave our system completely. I mean, the system doesn't allow it anymore. That's the problem, because we learn we're not supposed to, like, act when we're children. We're not supposed to act out. We're not supposed to be loud or to show our emotions. So we're not showing them, and this is when they start getting stuck. So it doesn't really matter who
right,
told us what. It just starts around a very young age, in
right.
like in when we're out
Oh,
in public, we shouldn't be doing this or that. So those ones are the moments when we withdraw fully, allowing them to pass through. And then there is also the mind, where we learn that we should navigate through this life experience only through the mind, because this is what school is teaching us, high school and then
yeah,
university. And so I went of, like, I don't know, 27 years of education or something like that, or a lot, yeah, something like that. So, I learned a lot to use my mind, but the mind can. So I see this in two ways. There is uh, the personal mind, or the personal thoughts, where we can think actively. So I have an active thought, and there is the random thoughts when energies are just stuck, or there are just a lot
Right.
of energies around in the mind level, and they just creating thoughts by themselves. So these loops and these stories.
Right. Right. The
They're just there.
stories.
Yeah. And this is why when I talk about opening up the central energy channel to let life energy flow through the system, so this is why an open system is so important, because when energy is flowing through, it doesn't get stuck anywhere. It's just
Yeah.
there in the present moment. So we can have thoughts, of course, about something in the present moment. We can have emotions, but only in the present moment. And then when they're present, or that experience is over, both are fully leaving the system and they're gone. Like we can't bring them back. And this is the problem with the mind level, that also energies get stuck there, especially when because we learned so much to use the mind and to focus on the mind and not like on the system and intuition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So in the model that I'm looking at, we have form, and then there's like the life force within the form. And as you're describing it, it sounds as if, um, the form is like the mental, emotional body, the body of all the thoughts and feelings that we have are kind of forms inside of the mind, which is the container. And it's the life force within the body. It's the energy within the body itself that brings the healing and effect and interacts with that form. And I think also as little children, I just want to reflect a little bit on that point about children, that little children also have experiences that they can't explain and they can't put into thoughts or words. It's really common. And I mean, the listeners, you all know, if you think back to your early childhood, there are things, there are experiences that came up that were, oh, sorry about that. If I raise my hand, I'm in trouble. Anyway, lower hand, there we go. Um, yeah, so they're experiences that are very subtle, right? That are just feelings. Like often they're the types of memories and experiences that are activated when you smell something, like the smell of something that your mother cooked for you when you were a little child or something, and like the smell comes back. And then with it comes this impression of these types of really deep experiences of the subtle fields of creation that little children are very much aware of all the time. But because, you were mentioning that the world that we grew up in kind of pushed us or cultivated us into thinking and experiencing ourselves in a certain way, and that little children, because they don't have words to describe it, and when they bring it to the parents often are non-responsive because they didn't have words to describe it. For them, they have enough impressions and different energies stuck in their system at that point. They're probably not experiencing those subtler values of information that are provided by the environment, that are open when the system is open. They're available and accessible. It's like a higher level of intelligence that's available when the system is open. So I see this as part of the benefit or the value of your work as well, Eva, is that you're helping to create a context for people to become familiar and comfortable with the opening of the energy field of their system, and to reside on the lap of God always, so that in the present moment, those deeper, more meaningful experiences that add levels of richness and nuance to the present moment can find life in the soul, can find life in the field of momentary experience.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, we usually live in the past and future, right? So usually, and it's really hard to be in the present moment and to like fully experience the present moment. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a very, very important part of healing and clearing the system, and like a, how do you say it best? Like an outcome of doing this work to live more in the present moment. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it probably it sets up a condition that allows people to move their senses of perception into the deeper levels of truth that are unfolding in the present moment. Whereas if you're living in the past and future, that certain amount of life force and intelligence and creativity and all that is sort of it's there's a word I'm looking for. It's
scattered,
distributed.
or is that, yeah,
It's
it's yeah.
scattered, yeah, scattered
Hmm.
or distributed
Hmm.
into areas that, as you mentioned before, are really not useful. They're not
Yeah.
useful and they're not necessary.
Exactly. And in the present moment, so when we're there and we have a lot more energy available because it's not in the past and future, we can create, we can do something useful with it, or more useful than worrying about past and future, which doesn't even exist. So we can actually follow our passion or our excitement or what we feel drawn to do, and this is also giving you a better life experience when you can focus on something. And then also, because of clearing and healing the system, a lot of limitations are falling away because
Yeah.
we are unlimited. I mean, the limitation is the body, right? It's always the body, it's the main limitation. But beyond that, there is not really a limitation. So we all have like this very amazing potential that's also there in our field,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not always possible to access it, also because we have blockages because of those stuck energies in our system, of those limitations. And again, when we heal and clear our system, we also have access to this higher potential again, but only in the present moment, what we need in the present moment, because
Right.
it's so much potential. We
Right.
couldn't like, experience it all at once or perceive it all at once. But what we need in the present moment, this is then what we can access. And this is also
Yeah.
so amazing, you
It's
know?
beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Because we can
It
just create and we
comes.
can use this potential, and it's just there because it's there all the time for us anyways. It's just
Yes.
not seen. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And that also brings me to, some of the areas that one of the areas I was thinking of asking you about actually, which was when you do the transmissions, when you have the transmissions, um, you are opening the field. I just to understand deeply what's happening, you're supporting by creating a context that allows each person's highest potential to come forward in that moment, right? So each person's getting, like if you're working with a group, for example, each person's getting the healing that they need most in that moment, even though each person in the group might need something completely different.
Yeah. So I call it the highest truth. I just call it the highest truth because the highest truth is an infinite amount of information, and
Yes.
everybody's receiving exactly that information, what they need in that present moment, in that healing. I give the healing a context so that people know what I'm talking about, and they kind of feel drawn to that certain context, like feel drawn to that healing, um, to participate. But in the end, so the transmission is always working in the background, doing what's best for that person in the present moment, and I'm basically helping out that transmission. It gives me information, what I'm sharing, but the information is mostly for the energy field, because the energy field
Yes.
needs to change, it needs to understand and to consent, to say yes to that. So it needs that information, but also it's good that the information is there for the mind so that people know, because if they put their intention into those areas where I'm working, a lot of people can feel what I'm doing, and then
Sure.
they see, oh, there is something happening, wow, that's amazing,
Yeah.
so they can actually feel what's happening. Yeah, so I do both. So there is
So
this
the
transmission in the
impulses of
background.
truth, the truth that comes through is it from my experience, and I'm just kind of asking you if this is also your experience, kind of, I'm just trying to understand it, right? Is that it is really the truth of the divine. It is God's truth. It is the truth. It's the truth that comes directly from the source of creation, from that infinite, silent, eternal field of all truth. And people's ability to open up and receive that truth is partly based on trust. So part of the story is you have to trust that that is good truth. It's not like I'm being deluded by something that's got some ulterior motive, something silly like that. But this is just very, very simple. It's very simple, very natural, we could say. um, and then so the trust is there, and that opens the awareness, and also the physiology kind of relaxes a little bit into it. It makes it easier to receive that truth, what each person needs. um, and that it's coming directly to the energy field, you said, to the energy field of the individual. And one of the places where my awareness is looking is how the coming of the truth in the present moment enhances the individual's ability to continue to receive that truth always going forward. That ultimately the truth that's coming forward at the moment is folding back into the nature of the individual in order to cultivate all levels of the self, from the physical, the mental, emotional, all the way down to the deepest levels, so that that individual is transformed in the present moment to be ever more receptive to that truth always. Then, like you said, permanent, they're changed permanently, the stresses are released permanently, and the individual instrument becomes a better instrument for receiving that divine experience, level of divine experience and relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So every time you connect or you do a YouTube video of mine or a healing session or something, the system is yeah, exactly what you shared, can receive more. It can receive more of that highest truth coming in and get transformed even more.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful,
every time,
beautiful.
yeah. And this is basically so something I discovered recently. Next Elevations, I call it. It's a new project. So this highest truth, the transmission of the highest truth that's coming in all the time, I found a way of connecting people to that one directly. So not through me as a channel or through videos or anything like that, but just through a website. I just programmed the website and the energy so that people can just click a button and then the energy comes in for them and it's there all the time. So they receive it all the time, 24/7. So they're like in a transmission, in a meditation or on a spiritual retreat all the time, every day. And
Beautiful.
what the transmission is doing, so they meet the people where everybody is at that moment, right? So for some of them, it always depending on how much healing and clearing they have done already. So if the system is fairly cleared or fairly not cleared, when it's not cleared, there will be clearing and healing happening. I mean, this will happening all the time anyways, but in the beginning a bit more. So some people just experiencing stuff coming up and that's leaving the system quite fast because the transmission also is basically grabbing these energies to be released. So it's going to be done quite quickly. And then there is like a neutralization happening. And from that point of view, people are pulled towards their personal highest truth. So this is how I call it, because everybody's truth is differently. So because some people are stuck or they're moving away from their highest truth or, they're in different vibrations. And then the journey starts so that they are moved towards their personal highest truth. And it's a process, it's an unfolding process. And it just means that things can fall away and new things can come in. And they're pulled towards, so also to experience their true nature eventually, fully. So the goal is that the system is fully cleared and healed. They have access to their full potential, and then they realize their true nature. So this is basically the goal of this transmission. And what you just shared also came in very recently, that it depends on the system how much of that transmission or of that divine light can be received. And so I always try, to make my service and my work better. And I ask how to do that. I also ask the divine how to do that. And I got the information I can help people to upgrade their system. So it's going to be on a nervous system level so that they can receive more. So I implemented that now every month so that we meet up on Zoom and then I give people the upgrade so that they can even receive more of that light. And this whole process is then happening even faster, which is already really fast, right? When you do this kind of
Yeah.
work. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's just so fascinating. A few years ago, like before I started meditating, I would have never thought this is all like a thing or possible. And now it's like totally normal. Like, why not do it? Like, why shouldn't it work? And yeah, it's so fascinating how this changed. I'm just so happy that people can receive that and I can share that, that,
Yeah, I feel like your
yeah.
work is very innovative, Eva, because you've integrated the infinite potential of the divine nature, the essential nature of human consciousness into the offerings that you provide for people. So, like when you set up the new elevations transmissions, It's lovely that you can just impart the value, the infinite potential of consciousness to be able to work through a modern technological system in order to help everybody who comes. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's so interesting? On that level, everything is possible.
Yeah.
You just need to kind of have an idea what to do with it, you know?
Yeah.
So, because yeah, it's in the plane of consciousness, like when you step outside of consciousness and then look into consciousness to see how this all works, then you kind of get an understanding and then you can work with it. And then yeah, like so many people can benefit from that. And it's not like one specific teaching. I mean, there is kind of a teaching behind it, but there is like their personal highest truth is their personal highest truth. And
Right.
what I mean with that is that first of all, life is experienced more as a flow. Everything is happening in the present moment, unfolding more as a flow. So the right people are coming in at the right time when you need them, the right
Mhm.
information, the right doctor, the right medication, the right partner, whatever you need, you know, like whatever the
Yes.
need of the system is coming in, and then you can also trust. And this is part of the transmission. It pulls everything away that's not of trust until you know, because first there's trust
Mm.
and then there is knowing.
Right.
And then you just know, okay, what's coming up in the present moment? It's exactly that, and there are no mistakes. Even though the experiences are not that we prefer.
Right.
Yeah, so even those experiences are of the highest truth sometimes.
Right.
And then when we look back, so we have an experience we don't prefer, then we look back and then we see the teaching or the possibility to let go of more.
Mhm.
You know, there is always something behind it. And yeah, we just, so first there is, of course, the trust, and then it's just the knowing this is how it works. Yeah.
Right, right. So,
Mm.
kind of a trust in the evolutionary nature of all the experiences that come. So, whether they're comfortable or uncomfortable or pleasant or unpleasant or whatever, they simply are. One is simply experiencing them in the moment, and from that experience, some value, transformational value, occurs for the individual.
Yes.
So you've kind of touched a little bit. As we've been talking, I see you're kind of dancing a little bit around the edges. So I want to zero in on the question on when we talk about a person's essential nature or their essential truth. I'm just wondering what this looks like to you and how you might describe that. And I know you've kind of touched on a little bit like unfolding their pure potential and living in the moment and like that. But, if we were thinking, I think you said something earlier, maybe before we started the interview, about it not really being a goal, right? It's not like there's a final end goal. Did we talk about that? I can't remember. But anyway, what that highest truth is, like when a person's really living their highest truth, obviously, life is going to be very evolutionary, but what that looks like, and if it's, I would, from my perspective, I would think it would be a little different for each person's expression of their highest truth is going to be a little different. But I would love to hear from you what that looks like, because that's obviously baked into the Next Elevations offering is the person's highest truth. So just what that looks like to you.
Mhm. Okay, so as you exactly said, everybody has a very individual highest truth, and this is why the
Mhm.
transmission pulls you towards your personal highest truth. And this is a
Mhm.
pull, it's going to be there until we're not in this existence anymore. You know,
Mhm.
so it's
Mhm.
always a pull. The personal highest truth is also going to reveal the true nature. And the true nature, what I'm referring to is, so in the language I use, is the experience of the Brahman. And then the human aspects of consciousness coming back into creation, so into the human experience. So that means Brahman is empty, right? It's beyond creation. There is nothing there. Yeah, there is no love, there is no joy, there is no emotions, there is total detachment of the human. But then the human aspects are starting to come in, but differently. So there is love, but unconditional love. So no human love anymore. It's unconditional love. It's the same love for everybody, exactly the same. Then also the joy of existence, for example. So it's not joy, for example, when you go out with friends and then it's a joyful moment and you have so much joy, but it's more just the joy that you are exist. That's there all the time. So it's constantly. And there is also a certain amount of bliss there all the time, but it doesn't have any content. You know, it's just the bliss of existence. Um, And these are aspects of the true nature, and then also the present moment, right? So there's nothing else except the present moment. There's no past and future. Then there is in understanding that we're infinite, we never die, we always live. Then that we are divine. Um, that like also that higher information, just a lot of higher information is coming in as well. And this, the purity and the silence, the constant silence, so that the silence is the main experience. And everything comes from the silence, goes into the silence, and the silence can never be disturbed ever.
Mm,
And the human is happening in this silence, so in this space. And it's neutral. The space is neutral. And these are all aspects of the true nature. And they come forward more and more, and they are of the highest truth. And everything else I just call is the human piled up stuff. And we still have a total normal human life experience after that with the true nature, just different. And we can um, have a more full and rich human life experience without all the distraction and the noise, the
yeah,
falsehood. We
yeah,
can live from the highest truth. And
yeah,
that's very beautiful. And it's still this human life experience, and we're here to have experiences and we have
sure.
certain learnings and so on. So they're not gonna fall away. I mean, on the path of spiritual awakening, we have moments where we fully detach from this human experience, so we don't care about it anymore. We don't care about family, friends, or items or whatever. We just don't care about these things, and that's fine. It's just part of the process. But then eventually it's going to come back, but just from the truth. And then also abundance, for example, is an interesting part that's revealing itself. I mean, abundance, like the highest potential, is always there for us. Anyways, it's just clouded, or we can't access it because of all those dark energies in our system, the
Mm,
limitations. And then we can access that as well. So the knowing I live in abundance, it's just there. And all the worries and the fears about what's going to happen in the future, and will I have enough money, or these and that, this just doesn't exist anymore, because first the trust and then the knowing I live in abundance and I have whatever I need in the present moment is there. So this is also part of it. So there are a lot of very amazing aspects, because it makes the human life experience just so much better, and we have a lot more energy available for creating something that comes from our true nature.
yes,
So not we
yeah,
don't put our energy into uh, survival,
yeah,
but into creating something, into
beautiful,
creativity. So yeah.
beautiful.
Mm.
Eva, it's a huge gift. And it feels like so essential at this time in history because, as we know, our world is coming out of a period of a trauma, global trauma, over the last few years. And a lot of healing is needed at a collective level. So I feel that your emergence into the field and your creative efforts bringing these offerings to the people of the world right now are just absolutely perfectly timed. It's like you're hitting the wave, you know. And
Yeah,
this
so
is a
cool that you're
time.
seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you
This
for
this is the
sharing.
time that we need this. The world needs this. And I've been doing this work for a very long time, decades, but I realized pretty early on that I can't personally sit down with every single person who needs help and help them, because especially once we went through what we went through over the last 4 years, everybody on earth practically was traumatized or touched in some way by this event that occurred, and all that needs to clear out, right? Needs to clear out people's systems. But whenever a person does fall ill individually or have a problem, they very often will find their healing roots in the spiritual. And I feel as if globally, as a global community, we are in a position to do that now. Like that's what we're doing. We're reaching back into our spiritual roots and finding the seeds of healing, the foundation for healing ourselves as a global community. And as one of the great voices of this generation, dear Eva, I thank you and I honor you for the work that you're doing. And I'm so grateful that you're here and you're able to not only provide a practical systems for people to understand that healing process from the inside out, but also in the way you present your healing, you're leveraging that inner healing potential. Like you're actually demonstrating the application of it through the offerings that you provide to the world. So you're both offering, you're supporting people's healing growth, and you're demonstrating the use of that as a technology all at the same time. And it's just beautiful. And I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate that you're here. I know it takes time. I honor anybody out in the field. If there's anybody listening who's also working in the energy field, I want you to know that, I really honor people who have been chosen to step into that position, because I know how much time and energy it takes, and the way that one orients one's own existence to uphold and support that level of healing for everybody. And it's a very special thing. And so I'm really, really grateful that we have this time together today, and that we got to kind of look into some of the more richness and subtlety of that potential of energy healing. And I think that people really trust even more when they hear from you directly what it is you're doing and why you're doing it and why it works and all that builds trust more at the surface, right? The experience, the healing experience builds trust deep within and establishes a foundation of trust. But then having these conversations helps to stabilize and integrate the information and the experience. And so it makes it more tangible. And I think it brings it to the surface more. So
Yes, definitely. So thank you so, so much for your beautiful words, Dorothy. I really, really appreciate it. And I mean, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share about all of this here, and so that your listeners also know that this exists, these possibilities. And I'm just so, so happy that we have access to these possibilities these days, because
and we all do. Yeah.
my awakening also happened through spiritual transmission, just different, but it was very fast, and a lot happened in a very short amount of time. And I know it's possible because of that, and
Right.
I'm so grateful, because I know people who have been meditating for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and not so much has been happening, versus in my experience, people, or in my personal experience, meditating with a transmission or being exposed to that, because this higher intelligence in these transmissions, they just transform us. So it's a transforming of the system. And then also the manifestation into our life experience. And this is the beauty of it. We can actually experience the manifestation of this work. So we see the outcome in our everyday life experience. And I think it's so amazing. And I'm just very absolutely grateful that I can do this kind of work, and that people are really feel drawn to that. And
It's a huge gift.
yeah, so it's really, really amazing. Yeah, I love doing it, So this is also like, I'm so lucky, because I can share it, and I love doing it as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Eva. Thank you for giving me your time today. I really appreciate and value our connection, our relationship, our friendship. Thank you. It's very sweet to be here with you. And I'm just so grateful. So everybody, you can go to EM underscore,
It's hyphen EM. So
oh,
the
sorry, hyphen.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. So the transmission I was talking about, the Next Elevation I have my own website for this, because there are a lot of videos and there's a lot of information. So it's nextelevations.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there is also
We'll put links in the
yeah,
description below too.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So there is a
But
14-day
it's
free
nice for you to
trial.
say it too, so people know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
nextelevations.com is
Yeah,
the website just for the Next Elevations transmissions. And then
exactly.
also there's EM Healing. Is it EM Healing?
Mm-hmm.
EM
EM
dash healing.
Healing. Yeah, em-healing.com.
Hyphen.
And yeah, somebody told me it's called hyphen, because I would say it's a minus. Somebody English speaking from an English speaking country said, even that's hyphen, not minus. So,
Okay. Well, I said dash, and that was
all
probably
right.
dash, I think goes this way, right? So yeah.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
minus or a hyphen.
Uh, hyphen.
Yeah, em hyphen he em-healing.com. And yeah, there is the information about my work. So I have small group healing sessions I'm offering like every week. And also I have a free meditation, which is on every Thursday at 9 o'clock Central European time. So I'm not 100% sure which time zone you are, but it's probably like noon or early afternoon in the US for US. And we meet in a group, and there's like a half an hour of chat, Q&A, just conversations, and then a 50-minute guided meditation where this transmission is coming in and I guide through the meditation. And it's a very beautiful group with beautiful people, and a
Oh,
lot
so
of
you're
people
going to
have
do
done a lot
this.
of
This
work.
is coming up.
Yeah, not
It's
today.
Thursday.
I have a break today, so I have a break for 2 weeks over Christmas, but then
Good.
from next week on. And there are a lot of people who have done a lot of work in this group. So this also allows a lot more energy to come in, and the energy is even more high vibrational when the group is more high vibrational. So everybody
Right.
who's joining also receives that,
Nice.
this possibility. So it's a tremendous, amazing possibility to meditate with this group that's so high vibrational already.
Mm,
And yes, I really value everybody who's joining, like the regular people and also new people. Like everybody's welcome to join and be part of
beautiful.
this group. And I have a YouTube channel. It's EM-healing as well. And there are a lot of YouTube videos. So I have many teaching videos, and also I upload some healing videos. Also the group meditation, they are uploaded, and also a lot of guided meditations. And they guide people into certain experiences so that the system gains an understanding of things, that the system already knows how it feels like, so that it can then follow, that the experience can follow. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And thank you so much again for having me, Dorothy. I really, really value our friendship. It's always so lovely talking to you. And
It's
yeah,
lovely.
I love your big heart and our connection. So thank you so much for having me. And also thank you everybody for
It's
who's
great.
listening in. So
It's
thank you.
great. Yeah, I'm sure people are going to really enjoy this. So thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.